And it's funny too because yesterday I was we were doing this event with the other families here, and you know I was doing a lot of labor for it, and I was carrying chairs back and forth. I made coffee up here on the third floor, and I came down. I was talking about how helping hit the party and bringing coffee and everything was really like serving the community, and you know, I thought that was. At first, I was kind of like, because I was just gonna get coffee for myself, and then my ex offered it to our neighbors. And at first I was kind of like, just for a fraction of a second, I was like, you know, I just wanted to go up, and you know, I'd kind of pushed it yesterday when this happened. So, you know, I was a bit tired, but then I thought, you know, it'd be nice to bring down coffee for everyone. Sometimes it's like people give us stuff, and for a while, like, we wouldn't give much back, and I think there'd be no reason for me or her or, you know, us to expect ourselves to be giving back at the time, you know, but I think now it's nice to give back, and I think sometimes you get in your head that, oh, I have nothing to give or something, and then giving is very, very healing, because it can give you a chance to be a giver, which expands your life force, you know. And this is a really complex thing. Or at the same time, it's not complex. It's a basic fact of, you know, you give, and through that giving, you know, what goes around comes around, but it's more immediate than that. And I think this scenario proves that it's very immediate, you know. But if you're at a huge deficit, if you've been kind of mooching for a long time or something, it can take a while to give, and to give with the right intentions, you know, and to then receive. And you know, it's also not about giving to receive. If you give, so you know, giving without bitterness is one thing, and then the next level is like giving just to give, and the more purified the giving is, the more that it the more powerful it is, the more you can bring harmony into your life through giving, and that harmony to some extent is the manifestation through which you receive. And this is very Kabbalistic. This is like Amuna, I think it's called. I haven't read this about it for a while, but it just came through to me once again, free association. You know, because I went up to make this coffee, and I thought, you know, Saturn, I can give this, and this is something I can give. I can give the coffee. The coffee is black like Saturn. You know, and I want to say here that, okay, it's black. It's not such a strong. It's a connection to Saturn. It's not to get hype over it. That's the thing. Is you having these you know, rapid meditations about these things, and looking at the world with curiosity, with interest to see these patterns. You know, it's not to get hype over it, or to, you know, perhaps the connection between Saturn and coffee in this case is you know, completely wrong, but I think grappling with the reality through the symbolism of the planets, of the, you know, through all these concepts, can be very powerful, and can it kind of starts the flywheel of becoming, basically. Because the more you meditate on these things, you're putting energy into it. You're being devoted to it, and in a way subtly worshiping, and that's powerful. Maybe venerating more than worship. I think worship can be a lot of things. I like the term worship. Appreciate. You know, you're increasing the power of something by giving it space in your mind, you know, and by letting it be your teacher and walking with it, and you're actually expanding the thing a little bit. So, you know, I felt it was a very powerful thing just to simply bring this coffee down. So I think that was involved too. But you know, just lately, I've had a large change in consciousness, and yeah, it's very nice, but it's very circumstantial. You know what I mean? Like, it's not my inner consciousness; it's like outer consciousness of the manifestation of things, and you know, it's a matter of knowing what to do, because a lot of the times in the past I was tired, you know. I wasn't able to hold energy. So cleaning out my liver now, I don't need to be in a sort of a survival mode anymore. I let go of some of this stuck energy in my energy body. And now I'm sort of like free. So, you know, and now I can feel how I'm holding energy. I can do projects, I can finish things, I can, you know, I can make more use of my time. In the past, 3 hours would pass and I would be like, shit, I didn't get anything done. Literally, by cleaning out my liver, literally the time passes slower. Literally 3 hours feels like 3 hours instead of before, you know, okay, I had the time, but like, I just didn't have the energy to really use it. And so, you know, like my ex would criticize me that I'm addicted to my phone, but it didn't have to do with, you know, an addiction to content or anything. It's more like, you know, literally I didn't have the energy to use my time because my liver, the psychic battery of my body was you know, was sort of clogged or was impinged somehow. So, and maybe it's not as much to talk about my liver, but actually my spine. Because what I originally did that sort of started all this was I let go of like 3 vertebrae of my spine. I was able to relax them just by concentrating on them, and that's what helped. You know, I immediately had to go shit, and my shits were irregular for like 2-3 days. Really, I think I'm still, you know, releasing some stuff, and when I finished working on one project, the debate, editing the debate, I felt such a surge of power from my, you know, my midsection, from my liver, and you know, so yeah, it's interesting to track some of the manifestations of this work I did, of this you know, energy work, this that I've been doing with concentrating on my occult spinal centers. What I'm sort of inferring based on something I read from Yogananda Paramahansa. So yeah, and it's interesting too because the vertebrae of the spine to some extent relate to the chakras, or you know, at least like each vertebrae is an energy center. It's not, you know, it's not that each vertebrae is a chakra, but each vertebrae is a fairly major energy center, and that sort of connects to I feel that the spine and the chakras and the tree of life are somewhat connected. I don't think it's one-to-one. You know, I've heard things that, like, to climb up the vertebrae of the spine, like Jacob's ladder, and get to enlightenment. I haven't experienced that. I think it's an interesting metaphor, but I think it's not 100%, and I don't like saying things that don't really jive with my experience that much and aren't 100%. Like sometimes, you know, I mean, what does it mean if, you know, if there's only a few vertebrae of blockage, you know, somewhere in the middle, and once you clear that, the circuit closes and, you know, you get to a higher level, and then you're operating at a higher level, but even that higher level has some impedance in another vertebrae that's blocking the next level, and then you go to that vertebrae and you clear it, and then it's the next level, and so, you know, so then maybe the whole spine is engaged at every level of the Sephirot you are. But see, that's the thing is that there's kind of a lot of ways to look at this. Like some people say you need to go up the tree of life. Some people recommend going down the chakras. Yeah, some people recommend going up the chakras and up the tree of life. Some people recommend going down the chakras, energy outside. That's like inner Christos, which I bulk at that a little bit because it sounds like, you know, as if you're downloading a lot of information into your energy body, and a lot of those people act kind of weird, which makes me wonder, like they act weird in the sense that I wonder if they've been basically, their souls have been reprogrammed to some extent or something. I don't know. I see that with certain religious traditions where I don't see people becoming more of themselves. I see people becoming like something. I'm not sure what that thing is exactly, or you know, and they all sort of act similar, so they're not promoted to be themselves. They're promoted to be, or demoted to be, you know, a pre-existing template. And I don't know if that's even better than being just asleep. I don't know. I would suppose it's better than being asleep. I mean, in some ways, it's like I was born awake. And a lot of people are, I think. So I guess I wanted to offer some, you know, what's the word? I wanted to offer some explanations, some, you know, different things I've seen to kind of round it out instead of just using one aphorism that may or may not be complete and passing it on because it sounds good. Like for me, because I've heard also that you know, you go up the spine to the crown and then you come back down. I've experienced that, and I heard it after I experienced it. I have experienced that, but I've experienced going up and down and up again and down again. You know, I've gone a little back and forth a ton. So, you know, and it's kind of giving me the sense too that it's not all about, it's not all about like blockages. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting the chakras to hold more energy or something, like actually as if learning a skill, like teaching a chakra skill, like you know, your hands play the guitar, your mouth plays the harmonica, you know, each of the chakras can in the same way different skills, perhaps, you know, something like that. That's like a metaphor, but I think it comes close to explaining how weird some of this stuff actually is, and sort of the amount of, you know, nuance and craziness goes into it. So I also wanted to mention, you know, a lot of times I talked about some of the manifestations, and it's like when I talk to people in person about manifestations, what do they always say? They say, oh no, well that was just X. Oh well, that was just Y. That was just Z.